Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. So for today's video, I've been given a watch by Ball. Now I've got zero experience with Ball watches. I have heard of them, and early on in my watch hobby, I looked at them a few times, and at that time they were definitely at my price range. But what I really like to do with these more expensive watches is to use it as a learning experience, get a feel for the watch, and learn about the technologies in use and the overall experience of owning them. So this is the Ball Engineer 2, nicknamed Dazzle, and it's a collaboration with Oracle Time, which is a UK-based watch magazine. It's called the Dazzle because of the use of the Dazzle camouflage on that dial, a type of camouflage used by the UK Navy in World War I to dazzle rather than hide. It's a very interesting dial type, but a little more on that later. Now the watch is Swiss made, using 904L stainless steel or Rolex steel. It has 100 meters of water resistance with a screw down crown and a screw down case back. You've got AR coated sapphire crystal on the front, and you've also got an AR coated sapphire crystal on the back. Now the watch uses a technology which is a first time experience for me, and that is tritium lume. And Ball watches are known for using tritium in their watches. This particular one has a total of 15 gas tubes across both the dial and the handset. Now the movement powering this watch is the in-house Ball RR1101C caliber, which is based on the ETA 2892, which means it has a beat rate of 28,800 vibrations per hour and around 42 hours of power reserve. And this particular one is also COSC certified. Now it looks quite impressive through that sapphire case back with plenty of decoration combined with that gilt lettering. It looks quite expensive. On top of those specs, you also have 5,000 Gs of shock resistance, and they patented a Mortiser anti-shock within the movement with magnetic resistance of 4,800. So it's a fair bit of specification, and this particular model is in fact limited to 100 pieces, and it retails at just a touch under £2,500. Now that definitely puts it in line with watches like Longines, Tudor and Bremont, which will give you a better idea of the caliber of watch this is meant to be. Now I'd say this is a mid-sized sports watch with the given dimensions, a 40mm case diameter with a thickness of 12.5mm, which is quite thick, and it's the same had they used a Seiko N35 for example. The lug to lug is 47mm and a lug width of 20mm. Now initially when you see that mad dazzle pattern on the dial, I think it can be a touch overwhelming, and it's not going to be to everyone's taste, especially when you look at the entire Engineer 2 and Engineer 3 range, which has some stunning dial options. This is, as mentioned, a collaboration piece, something different, artsy and modern. What is quite good is how it has been executed. They haven't just got a flat dial. The sharp and fragmented pattern of triangles has been embossed into the dial to enhance the contrast between the shapes using whites, greys and black colours. Now while it's visually quite tricky, I think the execution helps. They've also added a touch of colour to the hands, a very light blue on the skeletonized tips and accented on the second hand, and it's probably just enough to stand out against that dial. Now I particularly like that counterweight on the seconds, which is the Ball logo, which stands for railroad. It's very intricate, and I imagine there is a lot of precision involved in making something like that. Now right in the center of the hands, you've got 3 super skinny tritium gas tubes. That precision work must be quite an undertaking. The other 12 tubes are obviously placed on the dial, much larger, and placed on top of polished frames. Now for my first experience with tritium lume, I would have thought tritium would have been much brighter. For the first couple of days, I barely noticed it in the dark. It was a very dull sort of hue emanating from the markers, but after that, it got a little brighter, but still something I would consider quite dull. Was I expecting them to burn my eyes? Maybe a little, perhaps, but let me know if this is normal. Now let's move on to the case, the one constant across all the Engineer 2 models. The finishing, I have to say, it is pretty basic, given what we see from micro brands and watches of a much cheaper price point and how hard everyone seems to be trying. And I'm not sure if that's because of the design of the watch, in that it's meant to be basic and perhaps a little rudimentary. You've got a polished bezel, soft satin brushing on the lugs and large polished sides. What you do get with 904 steel is that it's a brighter steel, but that's about it. There's no other features to the case, no micro detailing that I like to see, and it's probably comparable to the Rolex Explorer, which in comparison, this will be considered a bargain. I'll say the same goes for the bracelet. It's a 3-link design with polished center links. Outer links are smaller and brushed. It does have a minimal taper of -2mm from the lug width down to that butterfly clasp. And it also uses screw pins, which I saw all of them had Loctite applied. Now, in terms of function, the crown is mid-sized at 6mm, and it's got a very smooth thread, and it's got a very light function, a very light winding sound. And the ETA 2892 bass has that lighter winding, almost to the point where you can't even hear it when you wind it. Now, we know the ETA 2824 has a much torquier winding feel, similar to that of the PT5000 and the SW200. Now, the butterfly clasp, while it's quite sturdy and quite well built, it seems rather basic to me. There's no additional features when it's closed, nothing fancy. And in my mind, butterfly clasps only really suit dress watches. Something sporty like this should warrant a nicer, sportier clasp, in my opinion. Now, on wrist, it does have a pretty decent fit. A word of advice on wrist size. My wrist is probably the smallest that can accommodate this. Even though the lug-to-lug is 47mm, the male end links mean it comes out to around 52mm. And that just about sits on the wrist nicely. What I don't like is how the second link kind of sits up, and it kind of stands out, so it does spoil the fit a little. I think the best suited wrist for this would be 6 3/4 inches or around 7 inches. Now, the bracelet does come with half links on either end, so you can adjust it a little more due to the butterfly clasp. And I think overall, you really have to be one to really love that Dazzle dial, or you're someone who collects the engineer models, because you've got so many more practical engineer options to go for. And as for everything else, yes, the movement used is quite premium, but I think the case and finishing is a bit basic, and that's only me comparing it to what I usually review and look for. Sometimes we think more money on watches means a hell of a lot more features and, more manufacturing and better case designs, but that's not always the case. It usually means there's a tighter level of quality control on components, a lot more precision, and more expensive materials. We see stuff like the work on the dial, those tritium looms applied to the hands and the dials, and this is where, a lot of your money is going to be coming in. And small stuff like the logo on the second hand. Imagine how many are damaged in the process of this being created. Now, I didn't notice any micro scratches on the hands, along the dial, and stuff like that. So again, this is where quality will add a significant price to the cost. But I guess there is also a price tag on the ball name, right? So that's my take on this Dazzle Engineer. Now, let me know your thoughts below. And if there is anything you guys want to teach me about ball watches, I'm more than welcome to hear it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.